Let's get a word on this with Peter Barnes, political strategist and all-round good bloke. Peter, good to see you.
Nice to see you. How are you doing?
All right. I mean, this one never fully goes away, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's like the John Lewis advert. You can set your watch by it, by what time of the year it is. But I have to admit, it's an interesting question you phrased there, because I think the big problem is language. Entitlement. Why are you entitled to something?
Yes.
And benefits. And I've always found that the language of these kind of policies is actually part of the problem, because when you take them away, you feel like you're losing something. You feel like something is being taken off you. And I think that, obviously, it's done deliberately, because the left, for all of their faults, are brilliant at the naming game.
Yeah.
But I will say that, when we talk about the migrant crisis, we have to be very careful, because it's a very complex issue that we keep broad generalizations, because you have economic migrants, refugees, asylum seekers, all types, and this kind of broad sweeping statements that a lot of people make don't really help. But I have to admit, when over 500 nearly a day are joining universal credit, it is astronomical.
There is something
and you
wrong.
Cannot have a welfare state and open borders that we have now. You just can't. And I don't understand why anybody in the Labour Party or in the government or in the civil service, the blob, thinks that this is a viable plan. I don't know whether they're that far down the rabbit hole that they refuse to turn around and they don't think they can. But realistically, everything Shabana Mahmood has announced, anything that we hear subsequent, is irrelevant until we look at the parliamentary math to see whether they're going to get anything through to change anything.
Well, let's have a listen to the Home Secretary. This is what she had said about the issue going on at the moment in terms of this whole area. Here's Shabana Mahmood.
The burden that has fallen on this country has been heavy. 400,000 have sought asylum here in the last 4 years. Over 100,000 people now live in asylum accommodation, and over half of refugees remain on benefits 8 years after they have arrived. To the British public who foot the bill, the system feels out of control and unfair. It feels that way because it is. The pace and scale of change has destabilised communities. It is making our country a more divided place.
Well, it's certainly making us a more divided place. I mean, I think to pick up on your point, Peter, you've got the civil service, and these are the people that mostly sit there crafting policy and working out.
Well, you'd like to think so.
They throw it to ministers and say, does this look about right? And I do think two things. The old groupthink kicks in. Historic precedence is just the path of least resistance.
Yeah,
and
that's the way we've always done it.
That's the way we've always done it.
That phrase
Do
is
we
a big red
really
flag.
want to have another 2 years of changing it around? There's old Bob there who sits there in a senior position in the Home Office or the Justice, wherever it happens to be, getting my pensions around the corner. We've got our place in Benidorm. I want to go out there with Marge on an annual basis for 6 months instead of 6 days.
Actually, you don't work for the Home Office, because he sounds awfully accurate compared to what I know.
I tell you a lot about Bob, yes. So there's that. There's sort of laziness and malaise that sort of kicks in there. And when it comes to Labour MPs, those entrenched on the left, the sort of physics immovable object left, that lot, they cannot get their head around. The minute you mention the word migrants and benefits and removal or anything like that in the same sentence, they lose their shizzle. I mean, everything goes pear-shaped, they discombobulate, they can't get their head around the idea that this might be something that a country has a duty to look at, a duty to taxpayers.
Yeah, I 100% agree, but I don't think it's just the entrenched left anymore. I think it's even the soft left are even being sucked into this, because the one thing that we haven't got in this country is leadership, and the Labour Party needs it now more than ever, because they're in charge, which is still a terrifying thing even all these months on now. But the problem is, because Keir Starmer is not leading from the front, the power battles that are kind of erupting very brutally these days on the front pages, is causing everybody to kind of factionalize off. And the problem is, because nobody wants to compromise, because these are issues of kind of identity, of culture. Nobody compromises on what they think is the right thing to do. On policy, a little bit here and there, you can give and take. But on this stuff, people don't move. And because of that, the broad parties are disintegrating. It's not just the Labour Party. The Conservatives are pretty much, they're still reeling from 2016, to be honest. And I think I've always said reform is a powder keg waiting to blow, because of all these divisions. And that's the point, is that the reason nothing is getting done, the reason everything seems so out of control, is because the last ballasts of the nation, the two-party system, has disintegrated. Many people thought that would be a good thing. I think we're starting to rethink that. And this is not a defence of the two-party system, but at least they kind of, propped the roof up a little bit.
472 claims a day.
It's a staggering number. And do you
I
know...
mean, is there anyone in the room that go, yeah, that's fine?
Yeah.
I'm perfectly
Well, let's not
relaxed
forget
about
it. There's already, 1.3 million foreign nationals are already receiving universal credit already, on top of that. And, this number is only going up. It's not steadying off. It's not dropping. And like you said, we've got the Boris wave and that impending doom, honestly, I've been saying for a long time that the economic catastrophe we're heading to is being underestimated by a lot of people, and hopefully we're starting to see the reality of this play out, because we keep saying that, you cancel net zero or cancel DEI and all this stuff, it'll save some money. It is a drop in the ocean compared to the amount of money that, one, we owe on debt repayments and the interest, let alone to being able to recover anything that's sort of looking like growth. I mean, it's just a fantasy at this point, but I just don't... I'm kind of out of exasperation and words for this crisis, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Because it just seems to... every day you're like, it can't be this bad. Oh, yes, it can.
It certainly can. But there might be light on the horizon with a new Prime Minister soon. I can tell everybody this now. Keir Starmer's woes deepened yesterday, as you would have heard this with Jonathan on the programme. Rebel MP Clive Lewis offered to vacate his seat so that the Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham can become an MP and therefore obviously become the Prime Minister. He's got it all worked out, as our Clive. The polling is disastrous, of course, at the moment for Starmer, budgets and local elections looming. Let's have a listen to the Manchester Mayor speaking a few months back on that issue of Labour leadership.
MPs were in touch with me, but let me also give an honest explanation of what I said to those MPs. It's not up to me. It's not my decision. That's a matter for you, for the party in Parliament. And also I said to them, and it's got to be about more than a personality contest. The Tories were just constantly going through this at the latter end of the time that they were in government. It's got to be about a plan, a proper plan for the country and a proper plan to beat reform.
And this morning on BBC Breakfast, I think it was, he was challenged again, didn't rule it out. Clive Lewis saying, we've got to get Andy. Can I just make a point here, Peter?
Yeah.
We're talking about Andy Burnham here, not JFK or Margaret Thatcher, for goodness sake.
As a man
this is just a fairly sort of moderate, middling, lefty kind of bloke, working class fella from Aintree. I'm sure he's a nice fella.
No, he's not.
But,
he's not. I'm from Wigan, so I fall under the Greater Manchester Mayor. And let me tell you now, he has done more to decimate that area than anybody else. He stokes more divide than anybody else. He plays the north-south divide like it's a $2 fiddle.
What they get down there.
Yes, he plays that kind of London just takes everything kind of narrative. And, for a while it works for him. But when you actually look at the local polling, the Greater Manchester is about to be caught up in the teal tsunami. It's got to go pretty much all reform. So he is literally looking to hop, skip and a jump quickly out of that. I think this is more about political survival for him than anything else. He doesn't really want to be the mayor that lost the city of Manchester, to reform. I think that's the moniker he doesn't want. He rather likes the King of the North thing that was his moniker over COVID. But I tell you now,
that's next year, isn't it?
Yeah, let's not go there. Let's get through.
I want to be there. I want to be there tomorrow, Peter.
But no,
I want this to happen now. I want this excitement.
Yes, when you say it's excitement, but for me, it's all just a bit of a damp squid, because it's all completely irrelevant. Because most of the Labour Party aren't going to be re-elected at the next general election. So you can reshuffle the deck chairs on the Titanic, but it's still heading towards the iceberg. And this is the point: is that. This is why I think Starmer isn't going anywhere, because the NEC, for all of their stupidity, and it is very high, the National Executive Council of the Labour Party are not going to allow a leadership election until there is a unified candidate. Now, Andy Burnham seems to be the heir apparent, but he's not an MP, so he has to get his seat, and then there's a lot of steps to get there. All the while they've got to try and run the country in the middle of an economic crisis, a migrant crisis, geopolitical, everything's blowing up everywhere. The idea that this is ever going to happen, I just don't see it, because realistically, most of Keir Starmer's big challengers, they are going to lose their seats. West Streeting is a 1.1% majority. Shabana Mahmood took her cathedral-like majority down to less than 3,000. What else have you got? Yvette Cooper, she's gone. Ed Miliband, he's on Nigel Farage's hit list as #1 to get rid of. So the idea that anybody's going to replace Keir Starmer competently just doesn't exist in my brain.
It probably doesn't. And again, if they're looking for some kind of powerhouse of political thinking. I mean, the idea that you would
name another one.
You'd come up with Andy Burnham.
Yeah, I can't name another one though.
I'd rather Jeremy Corbyn was there. At least I knew where I stood with him.
Yeah. I'd be out the country, I imagine. But
Well,
yeah.
I think we probably all would be. We'd
Yeah,
be booking
I'd be in the
coaches.
I'd be in the queue at Heathrow, but
I'll be on a boat from Dover to Calais.
yeah, that's true. But you know, whether one in, one out, is it voluntary? Can we go as well? But I know,
Give it a go.
honestly, it's just preposterous. But this is what happens when political parties dominate the system. They kind of promote through loyalty, not meritocracy, and you end up with this lot in charge on all sides of the house. I will say, you know, it's not just the Labour Party that have this problem.
Yeah.
The lack of talent in this Parliament is just shocking. I know. I mean, I get phone calls from backbenchers now saying, "What does this mean?" And we're looking at primary legislation. We're looking at some of the big stuff, and I'm like, this is terrifying, absolutely terrifying. But it's not a new phenomenon, but it's taken up to the nth degree now because the system is collapsed. Well, I don't like this declining or anything. It's collapsed. It's done.
Yeah.
We have to draw a line, and then we can move on from it. If we just allow us to keep falling, we're never going to stop falling. We have to draw a line and say enough. And unfortunately, the Labour Party don't seem to be able to do that because you can't decide how far is too far.
This is very true. We'll throw that question out there as well. Would Andy Burnham, I can't even believe I'm going to ask this, would Andy Burnham make you vote Labour? Would you look at that and go, oh, Burnham's back? I mean, I reckon half the country haven't got a clue. No, probably 90% of the country have not got a clue who Andy Burnham is. So Clive Lewis, I mean, whatever you make of him, he's probably even less known than Andy Burnham. But the idea that he's going to vacate his seat for this sort of powerhouse of political thinking in Andy Burnham who's going to turn Labour's fortunes around. I mean, it's an absolute nonsense.